Today we're taking another look at the Bluetti RV5 because I was actually inspired by a viewer who sent me a message and said they were able to get the third-party battery to work with the RV5. So thank you for sending me a message and inspiring me to take another look at this. Now, I should have figured this out a long time ago, but due to personal reasons and not to mention frustrations with this unit and more, I had a lot of hopes and dreams for this thing, but the more I dug into it, the more my dreams were just crushed like a bug. And so then I pretty much just gave up on it. But here we are again, so who cares about hopes and dreams when we can actually dive into this one more time? Now, like I tell all my viewers, is to read the manual because most of the time there's a lot of good information in these. Now, sometimes they are a little bit incomplete, but this time it wasn't, and guess who failed to read it? This guy. If you look inside the manual, it does give you some information on hooking up a third-party battery, which honestly the only thing you need is this battery, and then you need something called a thermistor, or basically it's a temperature sensor. Now, so one of the things you need is this little wire, which is a thermistor. This is basically sending information to here saying it's getting a temperature reading because there's no communication between this and the battery. The battery has its own protections in it, like overcurrent protection, low voltage protection, and more because of the internal BMS or battery management system. It also has low temperature cutoff protection. So in order for this to work, it needed some kind of a temperature sensor in order for this to kick on and not throw alarms. And so the only thing you need is the wire and then also these little green plugs, which you can easily pick these up online. And they're both really cheap. The wire is only about $7 or $8 and they give you 3. And the little green plug, which you can get a whole bag of them for like $6. Instead of buying one, you get a whole bag. So let's go do some testing real quick with my RV because this does have some pros, but it still has some cons. Okay, so right now I'm charging up the battery with the solar on top of the RV, getting about 912 watts at the moment. And if we take a look at the app on the battery, you can see it says 98% charging, even though it only says 30% on the Bluetti RV5. So this is going to be charged up pretty soon, and it would be nice if it did communicate, but unfortunately, there is no communication, so it's never going to show you, what the exact percentage is going to be on here because it just doesn't have a way to read it. Now, at the moment, I have my 30 amp cord plugged into the RV, which this is a 50 amp RV, and it's just going into a pigtail that I made into the back, and that goes into the AC outlet right there, which this cord here is the AC in, which again, this can do 120 or 240 volts. Okay, now as we come into the RV, what we're going to do is we are going to turn on the Bluetti RV5 AC out. So we'll click this, turn on AC. We're going to wait for the microwave to beep, which it already did, and I have a green light, which means AC power is on. So let's go ahead and turn on the AC unit, make sure everything is working correctly. So that's low. This is a 15K AC unit with a soft start installed. So as we take a look, we should get some information. Here's the load numbers. Sorry for the glare, but it is already up and running. You can see 1.5K on the load right here by my thumb. And we have 910 watts coming in. As we move forward to the second AC, this is a 13.5K AC unit. It also has a soft start, so let's see if it still works. My last test, this had no problem doing it. So there is low cool. Give that about 15 to 20 seconds, and we should see that kick on here in a minute. So our total load should probably be about 28 to 2,900 watts. So as we take a look here, and there we go. So it's ramping up. So 2,700 at the moment. We'll probably see a little bit higher as this gets going all the way, which as we look here, this gives us a little bit more detail. So 2,760 voltage still looks good, 120 volts, 23 amps at the moment. All right, so let's take a look over here. So what we have, you can see our loads now, 2,900, and it says 24% on the actual RV5, which kind of funny that's going down, but again, there's no communication, and we know our battery is still charging from the solar. At least there's 900 watts going in, and that is only one single input at the moment. Okay, so you guys want to see something cool? Now, both AC units are still going. 30 seconds on the clock. Let's turn it on and see what happens. And this is about another 1,200 watts. Look at that, still running. here is the load on the phone. Wow, look at that. Even, let me get, sorry, I'm doing everything one-handed. I normally don't do it like this, but 4,400 watts, the voltage still looks good. And this was one of the things I really liked about this inverter, is that it is powerful and it holds well. It just, there were so many things that disappointed me about it. So, but again, lots of power. Back to both ACs are still running. So super cool that this is doing so well. Now, let's actually hook up the generator. We're gonna do a little test just to see what kind of interruptions we get. Okay, we're gonna use the Max Peating Rods generator, and I haven't fired this up in a little bit, but we'll go ahead and turn it on. Still on the original battery too, which, it's funny, I've actually used this generator more than most of the other generators that I have. Just because it has the same engine as a couple other ones, so I'm really kind of just using the engine more, but all of the features are cool and they all still work. But let's see what happens. Press this guy. It's got to prime the line, so it might take a second. Usually it takes 2, sometimes 1. Try it again. Oh, almost. We'll give it one more time. Normally it fires right up by now, but it has been a while. Uh-oh, not going. All right, there it went. Took a little bit longer. Okay, I'll give that about 2 minutes, and then I'll hook up the charging cord that's on there, and we'll see what 120 does, because again, I think 240 interrupts it and it stops outputting AC power. Okay, so I have the eco mode off because some of these inverter units or even power stations can have so much of an initial draw, it'll actually trip some of the generators while they're on eco. So let's see what happens. Okay, plugged in. So here's output, there's input. Probably can't see, sorry, but there's output is still uninterrupted, which is great. It says grid, and then we have ourselves 2,000 watts coming in, so that's the 900 of the solar, and then only 1,000 right now on AC. And so what I'll do is I'll throw this information on the screen for you there so you can see it. But you can see about 1,200 watts are coming in. Our load is about 3,100 and 900 as far as solar going in. Now what's interesting is that this is getting down to 4%, because again, it says 4% here, but there's no communication. So this is what I'm wondering, is that, will this go all the way down to 0 and shut off? So this is what I'm wondering is, so I'm gonna leave it like this until this goes to 0 to see what happens. And let's turn that on eco. Let that drop down a little bit. Still gonna do 1,200, which again, we can adjust all of it in the app. So if you want, you just go to settings, you can see here, and what we're gonna do is go to, you're gonna go over here to advanced settings, max AC input grid, so it's only 10 amps, bump that up a little bit, maybe to 12 amps, and you can hear it kind of go up a little bit. And then as we go and look at our AC input, it is now 1,400, which is nice because you can change that and you have no interruptions to what's going on inside of your RV. So currently everything is still running. The only thing I did was turn off the lights, but that AC is still going. This AC, oh, that's nice and cold. This AC is going in here. Okay, so here's something I did is I unplugged the generator, basically turning it off, and it actually interrupted my load. It turned off the AC power, so that's actually kind of annoying. Okay, so watch what happens here. This is at 1%. And because there's no communications, we're wondering, does it shut off? We should see something happen here in a moment, but AC number 1 is still running at the moment. So just one AC unit. This battery down here is about 92, 93% charged. And there's a little light right there that says your battery is low. And look at that. 0% shuts off your load. over 90% capacity inside that battery. So that there is kind of stupid. Okay, so now that we just saw the test results in the video, obviously having this not communicate with the battery is a big problem, because with this going to 0% and this still having 90% power, that obviously poses an issue. Now, some people are going to be, well, why don't you match this and put this at 100% and then also the battery at 100%, and then they should draw down together. Well, maybe, maybe not. Here's the problem. Again, there's no communication. So let's just say you have one battery and it's 100 amp hours. Well, maybe I want to add another battery and it's 100 amp hours as well. So now I have a 200 amp hour setup and basically over 10 kilowatt hours. Well, now how does this know that? Because the problem is, even inside the app, when you go to change the battery configuration, you can set it up and change it some, which you can see here. If you put in 51.2 volts, then you would go in and put in a 100 amp hour battery or whatever it is you want, and then you put in 1 or 2 batteries, however it is you want to design it. Well, after you click OK, there's no confirmation. There's nothing in there that says, yes, it's accepted it and it's changed the configuration of here. I've shut the unit off, I turned it back on, I even did a factory reset, updated the firmware as well. And so far, it just doesn't seem like anything has fixed those communications. So until we can get some communications with this and the battery, that's going to be really the problem. Now, Bluetti actually advertises a eDock battery communication interface, as you can see here in the manual. But the problem is that I've never seen it listed for sale. I don't think they ever made it. It was like a design thing they were going to do, and then they just decided to forget about it and just never proceeded with it. So that means you have to find some kind of a battery that has communications that will actually talk to this, because even if your battery has communications, it doesn't mean it speaks the correct language. So again, there's another problem. And another one of the cons too that I've talked about earlier is the solar input voltage. It's only up to 50 volts, which is honestly kind of dumb, because if you think about it, this is a 51.2 volt battery or a 48 volt system, right? So in order for you to fully charge this battery, you need about 56 to 57 volts, and higher voltage is actually more efficient. So in order for this to be charged to 100%, that means that this has to use a voltage booster. It has to take the 50 volts, bump it up to say 60 volts so it can charge this to 100%, which is stupid. That's less efficient. Why would you do that? Who would just put 50 volts on a big unit like this? And engineers who just don't pay attention to users is who, or the guys who want to try to hit that stupid Rivia thing on the RVs, which is that recreational vehicle association thing that's proving that certain units like this are safe, they're low voltage, but they're higher amps, which anybody who does solar knows they hate high amps. High amps create a lot of heat, especially your connectors. That is your fail point. And so I try to run higher volts and less amps whenever I can. Now, as far as the ePad goes, like I said last time, it's kind of janky. It doesn't really act very smooth as far as its user interface. And when it comes to doing battery adjustments, you can't do it in here. I looked for certain settings to change the batteries and more to go to third party, but I could only do it or at least find the information in the app. So this doesn't actually work for doing anything else. Now, the thing is that this unit had a lot of cool options it was going to be able to do, but it seems like they just kind of stopped. It was going to be able to start 2-wire generators. You were going to be able to expand this to 123 kilowatt hours, which is absolutely crazy. And it just seems like everything kind of stopped as soon as it was released. They're like, well, that's good enough. Just give them the regular batteries and that's it. So I don't know if they're making an off-grid version or if they're going to do a version 2 or whatever it is they're going to do, but it seems like this was released and that's it. They were done. Now, is this still a good unit? Yeah, it is. If you were to use the actual batteries that come with it and buy, say, 1 or 2 batteries and use this appropriately, then it's still a good system. And maybe it's not a good system for me and some of my other viewers, but it could still be a good system for other people out there. And sometimes I forget about that it really isn't all about me. Other people may still like this and find it usable. So I do apologize, because sometimes I do get into my own thoughts thinking, well, I'm never going to use this, but that doesn't mean that other people may still try to use this. But anyway, in short, as far as using a third-party battery, it works kind of, and if that's something you want to chance and try to get to work properly, that's up to you. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the RV5 and this whole little setup, if it's something you're still going to try and work with, or are you just going to bypass this whole setup altogether. I hope you guys liked the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and I hope to see you guys in another video.